Alright, everybody, for this week's Dissecting Design, we are going way back to the year 1999 to take a look at Dungeon Keeper 2. This is the sequel to, of course, the very popular series developed by Bullfrog Studios. This was long before Lionhead was in the picture by Pierre Molyneux, and this is a very interesting kind of genre, and belongs to the subgenre of, I guess, either management or city building, known as the sim management genre. And this is where, instead of focusing on managing an entire city or multiple aspects, you focus on one. Think of it as a city builder, except you're controlling a building. And there are many popular examples, from stuff like the theme park series Roller Coaster Tycoon, one of my favorites, Theme Hospital, which we may want to do in an upcoming piece at some point. But one of the more interesting sub-parts of the genre to develop was the Dungeon Sim. And the Dungeon Sim is a combination of an RTS with that sim aspect of it. But it doesn't quite hit either one of the extremes of the niches, and because of that, it's a lot more interesting and tricky to design. The reason why we're looking at this was I was recently playing War for the Overworld, which was kind of the spiritual successor to Dungeon Keeper, and it wasn't quite hooking me, so I wanted to go back to this one to see just where the magic is when it comes to running your own dungeon. And there's definitely some very compelling designs here, but again, it has to be tempered by essentially a balance between control and freedom. But I'm going to load up one of these starter levels, and we'll talk a little bit more about the gameplay next. Alright, welcome back everybody. So, we're on the first level of Dungeon Keeper 2 to talk a little bit more about the basics of its design. As I said in the last part, it combines aspects of very light city builder / management and the RTS genre. Now, the hook of the Dungeon Keeper series, or the Dungeon Sim in particular, is that we always play as the bad guy.
Well done. And now your faithful servant Imps will carry back your gold to Dungeon Heart.
Thank you.
Once here, it can be spent. The golden scale atop the screen keeps track of your reserves.
Thank you,
A
narrator.
start indeed.
Narrator
But more
is
gold
useful
required.
but not required of the
12,000
genre.
units should be mined.
But the idea is that we are
Red flowers
not...
float above your imps. These give measure to their
Oh, come
health.
on, narrator. I'm trying
Their
to
skill
talk here.
acquired and reflect the simple thoughts within.
Okay. So, the idea is that we are indirectly controlling our base or our dungeon. We're laying out spots for places to be built and to be mined, but our minions are all autonomous. If this sounds familiar, this kind of philosophy was also later seen and
Excellent
adapted
work, Keeper.
with the
You are
Dwarf
ready to
Fortress-esque
recruit more creatures to
genre.
your cause. See? A portal near your dungeon heart, to where your imps must dig. They'll
Thank
claim
you.
this portal to be yours. You'll see what beasts emerge. Your dungeon heart is full of gold. No more than 16,000 can it hold.
Thank you, narrator. He's just going to keep talking. Unfortunately, I can't really block him. But as I was saying, Dwarf Fortress and those kinds of sims took this design and ran with it, with the idea that you are laying down the foundation, but everything else is kind of out of your control. Now, those titles are definitely more complex than just a dungeon sim. So what's going to happen is we're going to build rooms, and this is going to determine what's going to come out of those
Behold
portals.
your portal, the gate through which new creatures enter your domain, drawn forth to use the rooms which you provide.
Now, the idea in Dungeon Keeper and
Look
in
well.
other ones,
A goblin has entered
while these
your
guys is
domain.
coming out,
On his
is
own,
that
he is a cowardly beast,
rooms are
but in a
designated
horde
based on a
becomes
3x3 grid, or 3x3 size. We can expand the room by expanding it like
goblins
4x3,
need a map
5x3, 6x3, and
Tag
so
the
on.
flashing area to guide your imps to dig sufficient space.
Joke's on you, game, I already did that, and more so. But as with an RTS, we are limited based on how many imps we have to work on, or work with, I should say. So because again, this is the tutorial, I have to play nice and do what it says. But what's going to happen in a minute is we're going to build out a room. And you're going to see how it grows based on the size. So once it's done, once they're done claiming these floors, which means we are able to build on them.
Good. Now build. Click on the flashing tab to see the choice of rooms. Select the symbol of the bed. Then make a layer that's big enough to hold as many creatures as can be attracted through your portal. 3 by 5 will prove sufficient. Remember, such constructions cost you gold.
And again, the reason they say 3 by 5 is that each portal can only hold 15 minions, or send them out. So 3 times 5 is, of course, 15. So if you watch right here, I'm going to do a 3 by 3. And then as it expands, the room will grow.
Now right-click to cancel building mode.
Sure, game. Anything you say. And as with city builders and other kinds of sim games, the rooms themselves dictate the function. If I build a lair, that's what people are going to do in that specific area.
But hungry. Dig out the flashing area and build a hatchery for food. Just as you built a lair for sleep.
So I'm going to build a 3 by 5 again. Once they're done. And this time again, you'll see how the room grows based on how big we play it, or how big we draw it. Meanwhile, they're busy digging things out. And more minions, as you can see, are slowly but surely popping their head out. And as you get more rooms in Dungeon Keeper, different kinds of minions will spawn. So they're busy moving along here. And again, while this game may seem a bit simple compared to what we have today with RimWorld, Dwarf Fortress, Prison Architect, and so many more sim or management sim style games, Dungeon Keeper for its time was very advanced in this regard. Not quite a city builder, not quite an RTS. But that does come back to bite it later on.
Click here. Select the symbol of the chick. Then click over empty tiles of land you've claimed to build the hatchery.
So again, 3 by 3 is always going to be the basic for most rooms.
Good progress.
But I'm going to add an extra one.
See? Your goblins are well rested in their lair, and their bellies full.
And you can
with
see it adds a
chicken
second
flesh.
size.
Now keep watch, for very soon more goblins will arrive, and then your numbers will be strong enough to challenge Lord Antonius.
And again, you can see they are putting in their little beds. And again, we're going to have a total of 15. Meanwhile, I'm going to start digging this out. Uh-oh, never mind. Looks like somebody's coming to attack.
I sense a breach. The servants of Antonius have broken through your walls, and you can move your gaze to see them now by right-clicking on the flashing blade.
Get him!
But worry not this time, for it is only dwarves,
Fight!
who, feeble as they are, pose little threat against your goblins. The hapless enemy dwarfs are being crushed. Observe the white health flowers which appear above them. When they're near to death, you'll see that only one last petal shows.
And since we don't have a prison, we won't be able to do much there. But meanwhile, our troops are slowly but surely digging out our dungeon. Take that.
Away, Keeper!
There we go.
You shall not taint Smilesville with your evil ways!
Now here comes the big guy.
The feeble Lord Antonius. See how the petals of his white health flower are of a special shape. This marks him down as your prime target. Take him out.
Alright, we'll put them all right here.
Pick the creature up. To drop him, right-click.
You can also slap your minions to get them to work hard. Fight. Get him. The number again represents their level. And higher up minions can easily hold their own.
The portal gem lies aside his helpless form. in wait for Horny to collect it so it's yours. And come see now.
Come see now.
I see you have discovered a magical item.
Here he comes. He looks so excited, doesn't he?
Hot lips.
And then you get these little vignettes afterwards. There's some 90s CGI footage. But I'm going to go a few levels in,
Well done,
and we'll
Keeper.
talk more about some of the
You have
advanced
successfully
stuff
ended the life
in
of Lord
Dungeon
Antonius,
Keeper
and
once
you
he's
have
done
claimed your
talking.
first portal gem as well. This is a most promising start.
And there's probably a hidden item there. There we go. And then you can look on the map that the land is basically dying as we take it over. Because one of the aspects of this game, similar to the Overlord series, is that we're playing the bad guy. We're not the anti-hero here. We're just invading this happy land to try and kill it one territory at a time. But I will see you guys in a few minutes, or probably several minutes on my side, while I continue the campaign, just so I can show off a little bit more of the breadth of the design. Until then, I'll see you all in a second. Alright, we're a little bit later into the game's campaign. I can show off a few more of the advanced strategies and design of the dungeon sim genre. And I'm sure the narrator will keep talking as well. But first things first, we need to get our hands on some gold and get some basic rooms built. I'll line this up for our 3x5 layer. And again, take note of the basics and how it does kind of replay itself regardless of the map, because we'll be talking about that in our next section. What did I just say? Oh, there's that. So they're taking that out there. There's going to be our little place for our food. And we're just going to keep digging our way around. Come on, minions, do your thing. Let's see, what do we want here? I don't know who that was screaming. But I'll try to make it go as quickly as possible with help from our little minions here. Come on, move faster. We should be getting some people starting to show up. But advanced play of Dungeon Keeper and of the Dungeon Sim genre is being able to actually give your minions some direct orders. And we'll do that via possessing them as soon as we can get an army. There's our 3x5. I can use this for the library. There's that. Get some food.
You cannot afford to build this room.
Oh, we need more gold. And you'll find gold being the limiting factor for a lot of the early play. So we'll need to mine some more out. Now we are given a lot of freedom in how our place is built. Let's see, can I turn the map? There we go. So this is where the enemies are coming from. So I do need to be a little bit careful not to build out any more. So we'll keep getting some gold. Okay. There's our. We're gonna get 15 per portal. I should have enough to start getting some basic structures going. There we go. There's food. And we'll build the library. Maybe that'll be a guard room. We'll see. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of gold around here. This will be our library then, right here. And one of the more important things about Dungeon Keeper and the Dungeon Sim genre is that there really isn't a lot of randomness.
You need a treasury to store gold.
Thank you. You're going to have to deal with events happening, but they're usually set on triggers or after a set number of time has passed. That's an enemy trap. We'll be building our own soon. Where's our minions? Are they coming in yet? No, not yet. Once the library is done, that should get some more guys in that way. I'll make this our little vault right here. So we have some money access coming in. I'll actually do this now. We only need 15 because 15 is the most this portal is going to get. Meanwhile, they are digging out crazily over there. And you can see how slow things are at the beginning. This is another major part of the dungeon sim kind of design. I'll get a few more minions. Food and chickens right next to each other. There we go. Nice. We'll get a library going. And you can see up there where it says researchers, how many wizards or sorcerers it's going to spawn. We definitely have more than 9,000 gold.
A new species of creature has entered your dungeon.
I'll get some offense going. And we can expand out as we get more money. Nope, get rid of that. For this map, we are looking for a treasure. Or, I'm sorry, for a prison.
Bridge. You'll find these useful as you build your landlocked creatures. Easy passage over water, even lava. But be cautious over lava, as the bridge will slowly perish in the heat.
Good to know. So now, what I'm going to do is build a 4x4. If I can actually fit this. Leave that for right now. That will be training. Uh-oh. I don't know where they're coming in at, but that's not good. Alright. Build that over here. Hopefully this will be a safe area. 1, 2, 3. There we go. There's our 4x4. Oh good, we got some minions coming in. They'll be able to attack.
Your dungeon heart is under attack.
And we got magic we can use as well. Kill him. We gotta worry about, again, expanding too far out until we get some basic shock troops in. Come on, team. We gotta hurry up here. We can expand out this way as well. There are no new spells for this level, so we're kind of safe on that regard. But they're enhancing our imps now. Good. Give me some more gold. And you can see what we can actually have right now there. This will be our guard room, I think, right here.
Your create imp spell has been upgraded.
And this will summon dark elves. And again, each room type summons its own specific character. So they should start showing up. Come on, guys, hurry up. Got food right there. But we need some shock troops to show up. Let's see.
I see you have discovered a magical item. A new species of creature has entered your dungeon.
Once the training room is done, we'll get our goblins. And again, the game tries to play between the
Your Thunderbolt
lines.
spell has been upgraded.
There you go. The game tries to play between being an RTS, but having these light management style.
Your dungeon heart is under attack.
Get him. Get those tours. So it looks like we got something coming in from down there. Once the workshop is done, I can set up some basic traps. Here's our training room. This will be the workshop, and then after that, all of our basic rooms will have been met. There's the prison.
A hidden realm has been made available.
And there's a bonus level which we could do at some later point. But now more creatures should be coming in. Oh, found someone else here. Let's see, we'll go for this. Let's dig this
Your
all
possession
out.
spell has been upgraded. There is nothing left to research.
Good to know.
I see you have discovered a magical item.
And we look over here, we're up to seven minions, which we can use. And we'll get more in a second. So here we go.
A new species of creature has entered your dungeon.
I'm going to place a trap right here. Just hopefully shut down any enemies who are just like randomly walking. So we don't want that to happen. And we should be capable of now actually building a force. Between our trolls and goblins and all that. But we're going to need gold soon. Come on. Get him.
You have taken over an enemy bridge. Your dungeon heart is under attack.
I better stop this. There we go. Everybody has a little home now. Come on, get that trap built. Shouldn't be anyone else alive. More gold over there. I need to mine out a lot more gold at this rate. Let's see. We'll head down here. And they're busy taking over this territory. We'll have to deal with that at
Taken
some
over an
point.
enemy bridge.
I'll take that. trap done yet? Oh wait, forgot
Your
that.
creatures have been made happy.
Alright, they're now all happy. That's good. I'm gonna place him right here, get him to work. There we go. And we look here, we can still field a few more units. Alright, we're taking over the prison now, and this will unlock the new unit for this level. And then once that's done...
A sentry trap has been created in your workshop.
Where are they? Come on, team. Oh, we got a lot of trolls now. Get them. And this is just in time, too, because we'll be making use of that prison.
You have taken over an enemy prison. The prison is the place where imps will drag your wounded
Get 'em.
victims. There they'll rot and perish, turning last to bones. Then skeleton creatures will emerge created, yours to use in battle with your foe.
There.
Your dungeon heart is under attack.
And once this trap is done, we'll have at least some adequate defense on that side. Well, it's probably time to build a lot more of these guys. That should speed things up quite nicely. Oh, they got a wizard now. Get him. And they'll turn to skeletons eventually. Oh. Die, wizard, die.
It is payday.
I know, minion. Or I know, narrator. Alright, he's dead. And I better... Gotta get some more gold. Or in this place gets very expensive, and there is an inherent limit of how long you can spend on a map, based on how much it's costing you to keep your minions happy. But we have a trap over there. They're starting to come in. I'm going to expand the workshop out just a little bit. And these guys will turn to skeletons soon. They're still coming.
A sentry trap has been created.
And this is
in
why
your
we
workshop.
brought the traps in, to basically deal with these flows of minions. I can also grab units like so, and place them down. They're saying burn a lot.
A creature has died in your prison and has risen as a skeleton.
There we go, nice.
The skeleton. This fearless
No skeleton
bone
dancing,
needs
sadly.
neither sleep nor nourishment. Its only urge to kill, and when in battle marches forth and slays without remorse. Your prison is too small.
That's always a bad problem, right? But we'll get more skeletons eventually.
Your imps are diligent in their retrieval of the dying and the slain, but only when on land you've claimed. So when a creature perishes on water or on lava, it is for you to build a bridge beneath it. Only then can it be dragged to where it serves you best.
Alright. There we go. Come on, guys, work faster. But one of the more challenging aspects of Dungeon Keeper and the Dungeon Sim is when you want command units directly. And that is what we'll be doing. We'll take the skeleton, put him here, and we're going to possess him. And we're going to get a small army of units that come and help us.
A creature has died in your prison and has risen as
So
a
you can
skeleton.
look at the bottom to see who is basically being taken over. I'll take a skeleton. Come on, boy. There is a limit of how many units we can actually have in our little army, which I believe is a balancing mechanism. We need trolls in here. Notice these state-of-the-art first-person graphics, too. Wizard. There we go. So that's enough of that. So I'm going to take these guys out. Hopefully not get lost. And we're going to attack that cannon as soon as my army is here. Come on, guys. And you pretty much need to do this for a little bit more direct control, since you cannot organize your minions any other way. The only exception being a spell. But I can't just directly tag, paint enemies on the map kind of thing. Get them. Come on, minions. Circle strafe. That's one. Now, we were playing this in multiplayer. Our enemy could rebuild these traps. But again, being single player minded, we can just go forward. There's his gate. Die, wizard. And they will follow us until I depossess him. Which we will probably be doing in the next second or so. It may be hard to see on the map, but that white circle that's like kind of expanding in and out, that's where we're at right now. And we're trying to find where the guy has left his little tomb. But I think that's it. Let's get back to the main map here. Just the vision there. Actually, we had more like this. Now with that taken care of, we need to find where this guy is at. We got enough money to last us. Let's see, is there any more gold on this map that I can just mine out for some quick bucks? There we go. Where was that bridge? Here it was. Oh, we found something here. And I can take an imp and just drop him right here, and he should go for it. Hey, where are you going, buddy?
Build a bigger hatchery to keep your creatures well fed.
Uh-oh. So I need more food. Well, thankfully, we can just do that. And skeletons don't need food, so we're good on that regard. It's looking like we're going to be heading north. Let's see. And since we destroyed that bridge, or I'm sorry, we destroyed those guards, we're kind of good there. I want to build another trap. Where can I build this? I'll build it right there. Get some defenses going. Now they are slowly but surely going to take over these spots. Oh, I'm sorry, these are the fear traps. Enemies will not go in there if they're getting scared, but skeletons don't care.
Your creatures quiver with foreboding when they approach the fear traps here. It's
There.
only death which will enable any creature to surpass their fear.
Come on, skeletons, take them out.
Your guard room is too small.
And the guard room is a way of setting up minions to permanently be here. as you can see, and then they'll respond to alerts or traps being sprung nearby. But at this point, we pretty much have this map under control. But like I said, take note of how linear things are. We do have freedom to build out any which way we choose, but there is a set end. Once these guys are done their little chopping... Do I have any more skeletons? Yes, we do. There we go. We have a level 4 skeleton.
Been created in your workshop.
Not bad. Come on. Once that trap is done, or once these things are done, we can actually leave. So I'm going to place our guys like right here. I'm going to actually just lead an army right now, so we can speed this up. So I will take over the skeleton again. Oh. Again, we kind of want like a mix of characters.
Your creatures like your style.
Alright, guys. It's time for war. Come on, men and ladies, and skeletons and trolls. Let's do this. In this kind of mode, it's interesting, but again, it kind of leads to like that multiple or that schizophrenic approach we see from these kinds of games. It's a city builder, it's a RTS, and it's even a first-person combat. And we'll talk more about those limitations once we're done with this map. Come on. Kill that damn knight. Alright, he's dead. And now we're looking for our big guy, or the boss here. And I'm assuming he's gotta be around here somewhere. Oh, they're still trapped. I'll use my fancy circle strafing powers here.
It is payday.
Oh, there's our boss. Uh-oh. On the plus side, we got his attention. But now, we really need to get some defenses going, because they're coming. Let's see. I'll set them up right here, so we can hopefully snipe him with our cannons. I'll see if we get a better view. Kill him. At level 4, he's actually pretty beastly. Come on, almost got him. Once he dies, the mission's over. Hopefully we can kill him. Come on,
Sweet
there we go.
victory is yours, brave people. Outsmarting and outfighting dull Lord Constantine, you proved both wise and valiant. Go forth and celebrate your spoil.
Not bad. But here's another little map for you, a little vignette. And as we said, that's where some of the more advanced play of Dungeon Keeper and the Dungeon Sim genre comes in. With managing units...
We are not alone in our quest.
Oop.
Your main rival is a keeper called Nemesis. He also has many lesser keepers allied to his cause. You must defeat them all to claim this kingdom for your own.
And we'll eventually
there,
fight that guy. That's basically the multiplayer
land of
version.
Snapdragon. And there.
Let's see, what do we have here? Oh, here's a little mini game.
By attacking the front of the castle, you will prevent Lord Ironhelm escaping with the portal gem. But temper your bloodlust, smashing down the gate.
So there's one way of doing that map, and then we have this.
Like a rat fleeing a sinking ship, Lord Ironhelm has his...
And the campaign is linear across these maps, but we do have some degree of control. But as I was saying while the narrator was talking, when you go up against the other keeper, that's kind of the single player take on multiplayer. But as we've seen, the dungeon sim genre definitely combines various systems. But for our final part, or right before our ending, I want to talk about where the limitation is. Alright, we're back in the My Pet Dungeon mode to talk some about the limitations of the dungeon sim genre and design. In the last part, I mentioned how much the game combines multiple genres and designs into one approach, and while that certainly is a noble attempt, it does leave the game feeling a little bit scattered, more jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing. So the first point is that there's a very little interaction between you and the game.
Claim the portal. Creatures will start coming through to enter
Thank
into
you,
your
narrator.
service. The rooms you
know what?
possess
Just to
will
make it
determine the
easier
creatures
on
that
me and
enter.
to keep this going, I am going to hopefully turn off the narrator. There we go. Sorry, buddy, we need to get through this. But, as I was saying, you have very little overall control how things go. Once you've placed rooms down, that's basically it. There's no real greater sense of control or utility that goes into using them. This isn't like a game like Theme Park or Theme Hospital, or even the Dwarf Fortress style of games, where you can add objects to further define and refine rooms and their utility. Once the room is up, that's about it. There's nothing more to do. So, like, I will place something right here. Hopefully I can place it. Is this even a 3x3? No, I don't think so. I'll just place a little pair down then, while they're trying to build things out that way. Now, on the economy side, again, it's gold. You get gold, you spend gold, and that's about it. Now, in the last part, you saw some more of the advanced aspects, with being able to control units directly and lead them into battle, but again, that's still nowhere near as complicated as any other game. We have a few basic attacks, and that's it. At most, the real sense of depth in terms of placing stuff down is with traps. And there's a fair number of them, but again, it all doesn't really lead to a central focus. If I focus on my dungeon, then I just leave my units to do their own thing. If I focus on the units, then I'm not really building the dungeon, and you get the picture. Now, another part about the dungeon sim genre is that, like we said, the maps are hard-coded. There's very little in terms of random or procedural events that can happen. It's either triggered by being in a specific area, or by enough time has elapsed. But the problem, though, is that it makes them very samey. You've played one map, you kind of play them all, because there's not variance in terms of dungeon keeping. I'm always going to build a lair, a hatchery, a library, and a training room. Those are my basic rooms. That's my build order that's going to happen day in and day out. So here comes the hatchery. And let's see, here is our library. And of course, when that's done, we'll get the training room. And this is, I think, one of the issues I've seen with a lot of later dungeon sim games, like the Dungeon series, and even War for the Overworld. Something's flashing over there. I'm not sure what that is. There must be an enemy there. But the issue is that they try to play things up to make the maps longer, either by having set events you have to wait for, or completing specific objectives. But again, it's just piling things on and adding breadth but not depth to it. Spending 40-50 minutes on a map doesn't make that map more compelling. It just means I'm spending more time on it. And that was one of the things that I noticed when I was playing War for the Overworld on stream. That despite the enhancements and the more features to it, I was still just doing the same thing. As an interesting note, the level in War for the Overworld that introduced trap design was a 30 to 40 minute long escapade of defending lanes. In Dungeon Keeper 2, it's about 8 minutes long, and we're just building one trap. And Dungeon Keeper 2, I think, works in terms of its pacing. The maps aren't really that long. At most, you may spend 15 to 20 minutes, maybe a little bit more than that if you're having trouble. But it's not like we're going to be spending an hour plus trying to solve these maps. It would be very interesting, actually, to see someone go for more of that city builder procedural event situation in a dungeon sim kind of game. Now, I have not played the Dungeon series. I've only heard about them through hearsay and friends. But for those of you who have played the Dungeon series, let me know what you think about them in the comments below, because I'm curious as to how well they were received. You can see they're unlocking more spells. And this is just a general, I think, overall weakness of the this kind of management sim genre of the 90s. Even greater examples like Theme Hospital suffer from this by the fact that no matter how many options you have, you still have fixed maps and fixed elements that keep it from getting varied. And it does kind of limit its appeal. It's also why we really haven't seen too many developers branch out with new designs over this last decade. There are rumors of a new Evil Genius game, like we said earlier, but that's about it. It seems like in terms of management sim as a genre, it really has evolved into more of the storytelling, procedural elements of the Dwarf Fortress style. Again, obviously Dwarf Fortress, RimWorld. I am forgetting a lot of them in my head right now, but I'm sure you folks probably have played a few of them. And that tends to work. It combines this kind of hands-off feel that you see with the dungeon sim genre, but throws in more utility and more variance with the random events, and giving the character or giving the player a little bit more influence as to how things work. In Dungeon Keeper, again, in the dungeon sim genre, my rooms are at fixed sizes because that's their appeal. That's as much as they can really do. But in a game like Prison Architect or Dwarf Fortress or you name it, I can build them any which way I want and do a little bit more control as to what's going on in my colony, dungeon, settlement, you name it. For those of you watching this right now, besides some of the big examples out there, do you have any other games that you like of this kind of management sim? And are you a fan of the dungeon sim genre? And are there any other games like this that you can recommend? Let me know in the comments below. But we could spend another 10-15 minutes trying to get to our target score, which, where's our objective? There he is, 15,000. And that's going to be a while. But we'll head back to the main menu for my final thoughts next. The dungeon sim genre occupies a very interesting niche when it comes to the state of game design over the last 20 years. And like we've talked about, it combines aspects from multiple genres to try and create something new and interesting. But the limitations, or the inherent limitations of the design, do keep it from that kind of long-form or long-term game design that we've seen develop over recent years, and especially with the newest wave of management or Dwarf Fortress-esque games. There's a reason why Dwarf Fortress and Prison Architect struck such a chord with gamers. Both titles let you place buildings down and gives you that degree of customization, but a lot of what makes these games successful is the immersion patterns and situations that can happen over the course of play, and then you have to react to them, and it just creates a very engaging gameplay loop of basically the game telling its own story. with Dungeon Keeper, War for the Overworld, and the other examples of the genre, you really don't have it. And it does feel more or less like almost like a light RTS meets a puzzle game in terms of what they want you to do. Because again, these games don't feature emergent or procedural elements. With everything being hard-coded, it limits what exactly the player can do and what they can react to. Now, with that said, though, we have certainly seen more developers in recent years try their hand at the quote-unquote management sim genre, to varying degrees of success. I really enjoyed Big Pharma, for instance, with the degree of control over the production line or the assembly line. And these games, again, there's emergent elements to them based on what the player can do. While games like this, it's just not there. Because again, once I place a room down, other than its size, I have no further control or use of it. It's just there, like constructing like a resource collector in an RTS. But it still works for its time, and the theme of being the quote-unquote bad guy is certainly an interesting premise. But with that said, we're going to wrap up this week's Dissecting Design. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to check back for daily discussions on game design here, and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games, with Dissecting Design pieces usually going up each Monday. That's all I wanted to say for now, so thanks again for tuning in, and I will see you all for our next video or stream. Before we get to the credits, just want to give a quick shout out to the fans and supporters over on patreon.com/gwbicer. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check back around 10 Eastern for regular streaming. If you'd like to suggest games for me to cover or topics to talk about, let me know in the comments below. For a collection of my writings as well as weekly podcasts on design, check out game-wisdom.com. To support the Game Wisdom Patreon, you can find us on there on patreon.com/gwbicer. $1 will get you into our private Discord channel where we talk game topics and more. $5 will get you voting privileges for any major event, including the Saturday Night Grab Bag, Patreon-funded goals, and more. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you enjoy more videos here on the Game Wisdom YouTube channel.